Hello again, it's me. So, when you're reading the book, quite often, it talks about the harvest. And it mentions that as well in Revelation. And it talks about it, fields of crops, where the wheat grows. But amongst the wheat, the tares grow, or the weeds. And there's one passage where they said, let us burn the field because of the weeds. And the owner of the field said, no, let them both grow together. And we'll sort them out when the harvest comes. And there's 3 harvests. Right. This might all sound a bit weird. As Nikki says, the weirdo with the beardo. Right. Time for a bit of weirdness then. He's trying to put this across. How shall I start? Right, there's three harvests where the owner of the field goes into the field and inspects the crop, and it sees that one part of the field has ripened before most of it. So the owner of the field removes that part of the field. That's called first fruits. It's already ripe, so it no longer needs to remain in the field. It can be harvested immediately for consumption. I'll talk about consumption a bit more shortly. And as time wears on, the owner of the field once again visits his crop and inspects it and sees that the vast majority of the field is ripe, and he decides now is the time to harvest it. And this is the main harvest, so he takes what's ready. But he's a generous man, and he understands that there are still poor people that need to eat. So he leaves the corners of the fields, and these are called the gleanings, so the poor can sustain themselves. Now, so you've got first fruits, they get removed from the field before the whole field's ripe. Then you get the main harvest, where the main body of the field is harvested, and the 4 corners of the field are left for the poor so they can sustain themselves. So this is an act of charity by the owner of the field. Now, of course, I'm speaking metaphorically, and the owner of the field is the universe. The crop is humanity, and the first fruits are those that have ripened. Do you remember the character Jesus when he cursed the fig tree? I'll talk about the fig tree, and then I'll go back to my main theme. Now, it's quite a deep parable, and it's shrouded in mystery because people don't get it. Now, the fig is associated with Israel. Now, Israel is Ishi Sarah El. It means an individual that struggles with God. So if you're fighting, then you are an Israelite. Jesus called the Jews of the day, he called them fake Jews. And when you understand that a real Jew is somebody who cleans the house and meditates and struggles with God, so that's a real Jew. And it's got nothing at all to do with religion. Nothing. So if you are cleaning your house and you are meditating and you are trying to overcome the programming of your God, your brain, then you are a Jew. Now, the word Jew is Yahuda, which means related to Yah. So you are related to higher consciousness. So if you're related, it means you're known, but your ego might not have realized that yet. And it will reveal itself to you. Now, it's up to the individual to pursue the path to the destruction of the ego, but it can't be destroyed because it's an illusion. You see? And when the field is ripe, or when the individual is ripe, God will remove you from the field. So, Enoch walked with God, and then Enoch was not, because God took him. The Christian rapture, the word is harpazo. It means to be caught up, which implies lifted up, lifting of the consciousness, lifting of the veil. Okay? It's encoded in mythology. It's everywhere. So this is a process, and the ego hasn't got a clue what's going on. And it's affecting the whole of humanity, whether they know it or not. Makes no difference. Now, as the field is growing, some people will respond, others won't. The ones that don't, they are the tares, or the chaff. In the book of Revelation, it talks about the tribulation. Now, some of you are going for your own tribulations at the moment, and it's a very, I don't want to make this sound trivial, because it's not, but it's a very necessary process. And the quicker you embrace it, the quicker it ends. And the act of embracing it is with cleaning your house and meditating. And then God will take it off you. The cleaner your house becomes, the more light there is in it. That's why Jesus said, my burden is light. In other words, you don't carry anything, implying no weight, but also implying light, real light. Now, this is quite a huge topic, so I'm trying to pitch this so people can ingest it and then bring it back up and chew the cud again, and then part their hoof like a clean animal and go their own way, within their own way, the narrow path. Now, the word tribulation comes from, I think it's Latin. It comes from the word tribulum, and the tribulum is a wooden board, and they used it to crush the wheat or the crop. So they put the crop on the floor, and they would literally beat the fuck out of the crop, the wheat. And this process gets rid of the chaff, which is the undigestible a part of the seed, which is not good, and then it's thrown into the air. So when something's, just think about the symbolism of this, okay? Because it's a language of its own, and these things just don't occur to people. It just doesn't enter their minds. So I'll explain it so you can have a picture of it, and then you can understand. So you've harvested it, and now, so imagine that this is being done by by God, the supreme being, just for the sake of your imagination. And he's harvested the field and he's got his first fruits. And he's noticed that the first fruits have got this fucking horrible, indigestible outer layer. So he beats the fuck out of it. Right? And God's putting a lot of effort into this. And then he throws the seed in the air. So he's elevating them, lifting them up. And the chaff falls away and gets blown off, where it is later burnt off. Now this is spiritual fire, the fire of higher consciousness. And all the stuff that's just not important just gets burnt off. Now, we'll go back now. So I'm jumping around a little bit. But we'll go back now to Jesus. And he was leaving the temple in Jerusalem, the story. And he walks past a fig tree. Now a fig tree is a curious plant. And they grow in England actually, which really surprised me. Having seen a couple in some wealthy people's houses. But a fig, the fruit grows inside the leaves, and the leaves encapsulate it and protect the fruit. But the interesting thing about a fig is that it's pollinated by an insect, and I think it's a wasp, a type of wasp, and it goes inside it, and it leaves eggs, or it dies inside the fig fruit, and that pollinates it. So the symbolism of that alone, there's this wasp creature, which we don't like because they sting you. And it goes inside a tree. And the wasp, the horrid creature, dies. It sacrifices itself to pollinate the fruit. And the fruit grows under the protection of the leaves. Now the fig is symbolic of Israel, of individuals that struggle against God. Now, Jesus on this occasion, whilst leaving the temple in Jerusalem, in Israel, he saw the fig tree and he pulled back the leaves and saw no fruit. And he cursed the fig tree and it withered and died. So we apply this story to within. So you are the symbolic fig tree, and your ego is the wasp, and it must die to pollinate the fruit that is inside you. And this is why Jesus is always depicted like holding his heart, okay? And when it's pollinated, that fruit will grow. Now a fruit takes time to grow, okay? So that's, and Jesus talked about the narrow path. So it's time, it's progression, progress. And this is all being steered by your own higher consciousness, your own super consciousness, and the ego, which doesn't die because it's an illusion, realizes, okay, and then tries to tell others. And this is why Jesus would say to people, he'd cure them of their blindness, and he'd say, don't tell anybody. And no, I won't. And as soon as, and then he'd run around fucking telling everybody. So it's a funny thing. There's a story of, no, hang on, just a minute. The Apostle Paul said, we will be changed in the blink of an eye. Well, that's the ego. Don't rely on the teachings of the Apostle Paul, because that's the wide path to destruction. The blink of an eye. Let me demonstrate. Blink, blink, blink. And God said, stop, I hate your winking. Wink, wink, blink, blink, it's the same thing. Now, the Apostle Paul is implying that all you've got to do is blink your eye, your pineal gland, and you'll be changed, and that's it. No, that's not it. That's just, you've now got the knowledge of good and evil. You've got to finish the job. You've got to take it. You've got to make yourself the best looking wheat in the field. Because the owner of the field is doing a harvest because he's looking for something to eat. And he wants to eat the best crop. Now, some of you might be a bit, oh my God, God's going to eat us. It's a symbolic story. So, whilst we're on the subject of fields, we'll talk about the supreme consciousness, the supreme being, the Father. The unified field is what they call it in physics. So the unified field. Now, the unified field is the supreme consciousness. It can't digest chaff. It sticks in your teeth, it grates your throat, causes problems in the digestive system. It's just, you just don't want it in you. So he looks for the best crop so that he can consume the best wheat. So when you consume something, it becomes a part of you. So, shit in, shit out. If we eat shit, which we all do, then the result of that is that the body is going to have to work a lot harder to extract any good energy from it. That's just simple. But if we eat natural, living foods, as instructed in the book of Genesis, the beginning, herbs and fruits, then we will clean our bodies. The plaque that has formed in your intestinal tract will be pooped out, and then your intestinal wall can produce much more serotonin, which makes you feel good. And also as well is that the intestinal wall has billions of neurons. It has an intelligence of its own. So that system comes online with the neurons in your heart, and it comes online with the neurons in your brain. So the whole thing, the whole system starts to reboot. And from the perspective of the unified field, that particular fruit, you, would be utterly irresistible. It would have to eat you. Because to not eat you, to not harvest you and make you a part of itself would be a crime. So it would have to. It's a natural law. Just apply it to your own understanding, like cakes and things. We decorate food to make things look nice, to make it look delicious. Okay, even though most of it's shite, as we are all learning. But when you understand that the unified field is conscious and it's looking for sustenance, it's looking to ingest its children. Okay, now this brings me to where Satan eats his children, which goes back to Saturn eating his children. Now, Saturn used to be this planet's sun, and at that time we was inside a cosmic egg, protected. And then the sun come along. In that place as well, there was no time. It was like a dream state, and the Aborigines referred to it as a dream time. And then today's sun came along, disrupted the heliosphere of Saturn. Saturn discharged, lost all its energy, and this sun took over. And this sun, it powers consciousness. Not, kind of, without going too into detail with that. But people worship the sun, but the sun's inside you. Okay, it's the sun, the light of your own consciousness. And everything is powered from outside, from what we call space, and it's everywhere. It's around you all the time, and that's where the energy is. And the same thing applies to the sun. It's powered externally. It's not nuclear, as science likes to profess. It's not. It's electric. It's electromagnetic in nature. But there's paintings of Saturn eating his children. Now, Saturn gets a bad rap, mythology and things, because people don't understand. But when you look at the unified field, and I'm not saying, just ignore the connotations from religion that Saturn is Satan and things like that, is that to be eaten by higher is a good thing. It's written in the Bible as well that, happy is he that dashes his children against the rock. Well, the rock is the pineal gland, and the children is your sacred secretion. And when the house is really clean and you raise it up, you're dashing your child, the sacred secretion, against the rock, which is the pineal gland, and it's burnt off. The pineal gland is negatively charged, and the pituitary gland is positively charged. They're in the third ventricle. Is it the third ventricle? Yeah, it's the third ventricle, and it gets burnt off. And there's a substance of DMT in there, which gets released through the brain, and you see a rainbow. Remember, God promised Abraham, the promise of the covenant between God and man is the rainbow, and you see the rainbow inside. Now, when you look at society or culture in modern times, you'll see the rainbow popping up everywhere. It's all over the fucking place. In the UK particularly, they've got the rainbow saying thank you to key workers and the NHS, and the rainbow. It's a subconscious expression for into this reality. So, but people with eyes to see and ears to hear, they'll pick up on it. It's like the unicorn as well. The unicorn's just, it seems to have died down a little bit now, but the unicorn was popping up all the time. The unicorn had it's a mythical white creature, and it's got this horn coming out of its head. And if you look in the symbology of it, it was two twisted. And so the horn coming from the forehead, two structures that wrapped around each other, electromagnetism, kundalini, the third eye. A white horse is the hippocampus, responsible for memory, remembering who you are. So all these things are linked. And once you get beyond the story, and it's depicted in art, and then you start to understand the higher meaning, the ideals of these things, and what it all means and what it implies. That's what your personal Jesus does. It reveals these things to you, and then the ego's like, wow, that shit just never occurred to me, man, and it's been right there. But your blindness has been removed, and now you can, you start to see, and you're able to hear, and you're the fruit. So, but where are these seeds landing? I mean, you've got to make sure that your body is a good field, because if it's rocky, then this stuff won't grow. If it's got loads of weeds in it, parasites, mucus, plaque, all the rest of it, it won't grow. But if the soil has been tilled and prepared, the fruit will grow. and it's all there, and it's so simple, and it's so, you know, the way it's depicted, it's so eloquent, and there's so much information there. And this is, and you don't need to strain over the book and line for line, precept upon precept. You don't need to do that, but you do need to read the book. But don't read it to understand it. Just read the fucking thing, because it'll all go in. And it's sustenance. You know, it's your super consciousness knows the truth, and it will sort out the shit for you. But you're going to have to go through the shit. That's the process of preparing the field. You're ploughing the field. It's difficult. There's fucking rocks in there. You know, there's tree stumps of the past. Things that you did that you're not proud of. You've got to dig that shit up, get it out of your field. And this is where cleaning the house and meditation is an absolute imperative, because that's how it's done. It's a difficult process, but one of the beautiful things about it is that you'll keep doing it, and you'll keep, you have to do this. You have to meditate. You have to clean your house. And then for the people that are in that really horrible place, and they're struggling, and everything's a fight, and they know they're fighting themselves, is that when you get 3 months down the line, you'll have you'll suddenly feel, I've changed. Nothing's changed out there, it's all changed in here. And then you go, this is working. But you have to be careful now, because the ego could go, oh, I feel better now, I'll just get back to living a normal life. Keep going. Keep going. Don't stop. There's a poem by Charles Bukowski, I think it's called Go All the Way or something like that. It's quite profound. I read that 2 or 3 years ago. You take it to its ultimate conclusion, and that is that you will make your house so clean that you are spotless. You are the Immaculate Conception. Playing with words, if you will. That you become fucking irresistible to the unified field. It cannot ignore you. And it will devour you. Because you are simply delicious. That's the only way I could really put it. Now, the thought of being devoured, like, oh, well, fucking hell. No, these are just words. But you merge. So you have the unified field, which is everything. Everything. Even the space between everything. In fact, everything is the space between everything. We look at objects, okay? And we define the object as the object. So we look at this, oh, it's a cup. But we let the object define itself, but actually that's not the case. It's the space around it that defines the object. Okay? So the space around me defines me. Without the space around me, I wouldn't exist. The space around this cup defines this cup. Without that space around the cup would not exist. That space is the ether. It is the unified field. And it's right in front of your face. And when you find that inside, it goes outside. And then you merge. Now you get snapshots of this. You get glimpses out of the corner of your eye. And you'll get this in meditation when you are winking. And that's just annoying. Men, when a beautiful woman winks at you, she's got your attention. Yeah? But when you advance and she doesn't want your attention, that's shit. That's really annoying. And girls, you know it. So it's the same thing. If you think about it like that. So but it gives you a snapshot. I was sat on my sofa and I wasn't doing anything. And I was kind of bored, and I just stretched my legs out, shut my eyes. And I don't know how long I was gone for, but my body was vibrating like mad. And you go out the top of your head, and then you merge. You become the space that defines everything, but you are also still in this. And it was like a glimpse of, and it was a very weird, very surreal, beautiful, wonderful experience. And then it stopped, and I opened my eyes again. What the fuck just happened then? So these experiences are very real, but it's like you've winked at the unified field, and the unified fields looks at you, and because you're attractive, you're delicious, and it's moved in, but you're not ready. And that pisses the unified field off. Stop fucking winking at me. I'm just explaining these things metaphorically. Okay, using language as language is symbolism. And when you have these experiences, they are really fucking profound. So this happened 3-4 months ago, and so but it takes that time for the ego to go, oh shit, I get it. That's and it's your own super consciousness that's teaching you. Now some learn faster than others. Don't look at me as if I'm a fast learner. Fuck no. But so I just share what I've experienced. I don't want you to know this. I want you to experience it. So make yourselves delicious. Now we do this anyway. When I go to see Nikki, Nikki dresses up and she looks really attractive and quite delicious. And so by the same token, I make an effort for Nikki. So we do this as a mark of respect for the other party. We put on our best clothes. Nikki wears this perfume called Eden, which we both chuckled about. And but it's not about external. This is about internal now. So you make yourself as delicious as possible. I can't stress this enough. So that you can be devoured and become one with the unified field. How about that?